In this presentation, we will look at Excel's VLOOKUP table, and we will be using a gradebook as our example. Generate a quick fake gradebook. Have in column A, student 1, student 2, sort of copy down that pattern down for 20 students. Have 4 tests in columns B, C, D, and E, and then give them random scores between 65 and 100 for all those tests using the ran_between function in Excel. Use the average function in column F to find each student's test average. Remember that ran_between is a volatile function, and so the student scores are going to be changing every time we do the slightest update in Excel. We want to use those average test scores and make a corresponding letter grade based on the following grading scheme. So scores between 94 and 100 will receive an A, 91 to 93.99 A-, and so on. Next, we are going to take this grading scheme and convert it into a VLOOKUP table. So there are at least 3 important properties that the VLOOKUP table must have that we must pay attention to. A grade corresponds to a range. A is a 94 to 100. We will always take the lower number to correspond to the range. So A will correspond to 94. We're going to arrange those ranges in ascending order. So the F's must come first because they correspond to lower numbers. And then when we're going to have to switch the order of the range and the grade, because we are going to look up a number in the range, and the numbers you look up should occur first, should be on the left. So here in columns I and J is the VLOOKUP table that corresponds to our grading scheme. So we have 0, F, 67, D, 70, D+. So remember our 3 rules. That we represent a range by the lowest number of the range. So the lowest F was a 0, the lowest D was a 67, the lowest D+ was a 70, etc. Then we put the ranges in ascending order. So the lowest grades are F's, then the next lowest grades are D, then D+ is all down until we get to A. And then finally, we are going to look up a number. So we have our numbers in column I. We're going to find out which range a grade is in. And then we're going to, so we look up what is in I and find the corresponding range from I, and then we will look and we will produce what is in J, which is the letter grade. So again, a range is represented by the lowest number of the range. The range are in ascending order, and then we take the thing that we're going to be looking up first, and then the thing that we're going to get after we've done the looking up second. Okay, now that we've established the lookup table in columns I and J, we are going to use that lookup table. So we return to cell G2 and we enter the formula equal VLOOKUP open parenthesis F2 comma $2 colon J $12 comma 2 comma true close parenthesis. So our VLOOKUP function had 4 arguments. Let's look at them in detail. The first argument was F2. F2 is what I'm looking up. So I am looking up the student's test average, and I want to find it somewhere in my VLOOKUP table. So argument 2 was $2 colon J $12. This is the lookup table. The $ allow us, when we copy the formula down from G2 to G3, etc., that these will not change. It's the same lookup table for all of the students and for all of the grades, so we don't want those cell references to be changing, hence the $. The third argument is a 2, and this refers to what column of the lookup table do I display? After I found my grade, after I found the test average F2, which range it belongs to in column I of the lookup table, then what am I grabbing to display? In this case, it's column 2. So we're always going to look up 1. And in this case, there are only 2 tables, so it's by default it would have to be 2. But you can imagine a larger lookup table where maybe I'm giving descriptions of the grades like F, failure, A, excellent, C, average, what have you. And then I might want to, if I wanted those words rather than the letter grades, then I might ask for the third column. The fourth argument is true. This says that I am using ranges. So another use for a VLOOKUP table, you would try to look up exact values, and then you would say false. But I'm not going to put down all possible averages for the students, so I'm going to work with ranges for grades. But it is possible, say, maybe in a business context, to have exact things that you want to look up, and then that last argument would be a false. But for us, it's true that we are using ranges. Finally, remember that you can click on that little FX to the left of the formula bar, and you will get a dialog box for the function of interest. And so you can search for VLOOKUP, and then get the dialog box for VLOOKUP, and then it will sort of break down these 4 arguments for you.